You're watching Pyro Media Network.
I could be running or chasing you, but I won't. Cause I got better things to do. Rather spend my precious time chasing somebody who loves me too. If I got $1 for every time you slam the door, I would be the richest girl alive, life. If you hadn't run away every time I asked you stay, you would sleep right next to me tonight. And you didn't know me, all you wanted was a game to play, and you couldn't handle that I had my ways. About your magics and your side chicks, I'm a winner, babe. And you didn't win this, it's a part of the game.
Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We hope your experience is fruitful. Please feel free to visit our website to find out how you can join our growing family. While we are loading your experience, please do us a quick favor and hit that like button from whichever platform you're watching or listening on. Also, share so others may enjoy as well. And we hope you would consider hitting that subscribe or follow button so you can check out more of our amazing content. All right, let's start the show.
Hey. Happy Friday, Junior, to those who celebrate. I celebrate because as an adult, Friday be feeling real good. It signals the end of the week. The weekend is here. And even though the weekend always feels like a 15-minute break, you still got to take your weekend. You still got to do it. You know what? Side note, y'all, one of my problems with why the weekend feels so short for me is because I sleep through the weekend. Like I will wake up, it'd be 12 noon. And then I'm mad that the weekend feels short. Yeah, Nicole, because you will sleep through the whole thing. So I might need to start getting up earlier so that my weekend feels longer. That's just a entirely side note. I don't know. I just needed to say that. But anyway, welcome to this week's episode of Nicole D. Vick Live. I am Dr. Nicole D. Vick. I'm getting more confident in saying that because you know why? Because people are saying it back to me. People are calling me Dr. Vick, and therefore I'm being more confident in saying it myself. This week, we have a really good topic. I'm so glad you're here. You know, each and every week I come to you live, more or less. Sometimes I don't, but most of the time I do, to bring you really important topics in the Black community from a social justice, public health perspective, because that's my perspective. I've been having that perspective for about 20 plus years. Now, this week, we are going to talk about aging. Now, so us young Gen X / old millennials are getting older. And I know that's hard because it's hard for me to even say it. The words was really having a hard time really coming out of my mouth. I don't understand how that is the truth, but it is. Like we're becoming seasoned. We are the aunties. And I'm like, when did this happen? Because just 5 minutes ago, I was 21. I don't understand. We are getting older. Okay. There's some things that have happened to me in my life, things that I've witnessed in the last year or so that have made me realize there are things that we need to be doing so that we are prepared for our aging and wanting to age in our homes. And so I'm going to talk about that today because we need to talk about it. So Y'all know I broke my ankle last year. It's actually more than a year ago. That was June 8th, 2024. It is now August 7th. So things are going well. I'm actually walking a lot better with my cane. I'm able to actually walk without it for short distances where I feel safe, where in case something go wrong, I can hold on to something, hold on. So things are going well. But that incident and others have made me realize, whoa, I wasn't prepared for the unexpected. And I feel like I want to make sure y'all are prepared for the unexpected. And it's really not even just about aging. Any kind of emergency can really set you off on the wrong path. And next thing you know, nobody don't know nothing. Nobody can figure out nothing. We don't know who to call or nothing. And so I want to help y'all out with that. So one of the things that I really wanted to think or was curious about, and I asked Google, I said, Google, hey, are more people aging alone these days compared to previous generations? And Google has said, yes, more people are aging alone these days compared to previous generations. A significant percentage of older adults, particularly women, are living alone. And right now I'm kind of focusing on that because of the situations that I have either experienced directly or I've seen happen to other people. And then something happens and then boom, it's a problem. Rates increase with age. So the older you get, the more likely you are to live alone. This trend is driven by factors like increased life expectancy. So we are living longer, smaller family sizes. So like for me, I definitely have a smaller family, like it's just me, my brother, and my parents. And then of course, Andrea and her family. So a very small family and geographical dispersion, right? Everybody doesn't live like in the same neighborhood anymore. Like even in my case, right? I'm here, my daughter's in Arizona. My parents are in Arizona as well. So folks are kind of more spread out. And so it kind of makes it more likely that you will be living alone. So approximately 20%, 28% of adults age 65 and older in the US live alone, which is a substantial increase from the 10% reported in the 1950s. That's crazy. Now, both men and women have that experience of living alone, but women tend to live alone more frequently than men, especially in the oldest age groups, right? Many older adults choose to age in place. I would prefer that, right? To stay in my home as I age. That often means living alone because the kids leave, everybody leaves. This can lead to social isolation and loneliness for some, especially if you don't have a strong social support network. And this can be very important in the event of an emergency or a health crisis or something of that nature. And we'll talk about that too. So what is contributing to this trend? Again, increased life expectancy. Family structures are changing. Smaller families and increased divorce rates mean fewer family members are around and nearby. And I just talked about geographic dispersion. People move. They move away. Hey, it's too expensive here. I'm moving somewhere else. And so folks are more separate. And then listen, grown people, we want our independence. So we are okay with living alone. Like me and Mew Mew the cat are fine. We be watching TV and doing our own thing. So what can happen though is there can be some issues with health issues, elder care responsibilities, and whatnot that can really sort of cause some concern. And so let me even tell you like a backtrack to my childhood to help you understand as another sort of aspect of this. So my mother was the caregiver for my great grandmother and my great grandfather. And so they were for the most part, they aged in place. They were in the home and my mom took care of them. I literally watched my mother break her back, hurt herself. Trying to take care of her grandparents. We all lived in a home together and we really were wanting to, make sure that they stayed home and were able to age at home with dignity. But it's like, I don't know, it just made me realize, I think at the time I didn't understand it, but now I'm like, oh, this is something that we need to be prepared for. Either we are the people that are aging in the home, or we find ourselves taking care of older relatives that are aging and need our support. And I will also say, it's not even just about that. It could be one medical emergency that could cause chaos and shenanigans. And it's really important for us to prepare because you know when it's too late is when you're reacting like, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. Well, where's such and such's bank account information? Where's such and such's? We don't even know who to call. That it's too late at that point. It's important to prepare in advance. So I just wanted to really, really bring this topic to the forefront because I think a lot of us either aren't thinking about it because we're living our daily lives. We're not thinking about the emergency where maybe in my example, I break my ankle and something as simple as no one can get to me because the door is locked. And listen, my ankle's broken. I'm not getting up to try to hop to the front door. Or, well, I now have an older relative that needs a lot more care than I can give because I myself am maybe medically, have some medical issues as well. And now I have to figure out how to get that person to their medical appointments, figure out where they're going to stay, all these sorts of things. And so it's really, really important, again, because a lot of us are on autopilot or a lot of us are dealing with a lot of different issues. We tend to put those on the back shelf. And then when something happens, it's way, way too late. So today we're going to touch on it. And we're going to get some information to you. And even next week, I'm going to have someone come on to talk about some of these issues. So before we go to commercial, I want to talk to you about some really simple things that we need to think about as we, are aging and getting more seasoned. Seasoned salt, lemon, pepper. We get a little bit more of that in our lives, and we're getting a little older. We got to think about some really simple things. So I'll start with the simple things first, and then we're going to go to commercial. I know some of us don't want to do this. Put them rails on your stairs. Get rails on your stairs that come into your house. In the bathroom, you need those bars in the shower, stuff to hold on to. Make sure your rugs are slip proof. That's a huge one because even for me now with my limited mobility, I'm very careful. I went to the dentist yesterday and they have this long rug. I was like, I walked literally around that rug. You ain't finna get me. And that rug slide up under. No. Make sure you have good lighting in your home so you can see. Make sure your storage is safe and you don't have to be climbing on stuff because that's how you also can fall in your home. All these types of things you need to be aware of. Your plugs and your cords, make sure they're not all over the place. You may want to think about things like a smartwatch. I just saw a video the other day where he was an older adult. He was jump roping outside and all of a sudden he stumbled and fell, literally was having a stroke, and his smartwatch was like, did you fall? And I think there's some way you can kind of turn it off, and he had initially said to the phone, I'm fine. The phone was like, no baby, the watch said, no baby, we gonna call 911, and they called the ambulance for him. So you might want to think about something like that. Thinking about a Ring camera. One of the easiest things that I did, I switched my a regular key lock for the front door. I have one of those kind that go doo, 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 like a little code. And so I can give people certain codes and they can get into my house in case maybe they haven't heard from me in a while. Like, where is Nicole? They can, my brother can come and get into the house. My daughter can come and get into the house and don't need a key to do so. That is huge. Those are small things that really can make a big difference in you being able to get help in an emergency or you being safe. Even something like having a fire extinguisher in your kitchen. Some people don't think about that, but you need one. And I have one in mine. I actually have two because you never know. That grease catch on fire, then what? So stuff like that can help you be safe in your home. Also think about stuff like, are my doorways wide enough in the event that I need a mobility aid, like a walker or a wheelchair? You need to start thinking about stuff like that. You need to think about if your mobility shifts, can you get in and out of your house? Like I learned really quickly, oh my goodness, these steps that come out of my front door to the thing, I can't do those without help. And so that's why I put rails on my stairs. All those kinds of things are really, really important, simple things that you can think about that help you age-proof your environment. And so to me, that's real surface level. But when we come back, I'm going to talk a little bit deeper about some other stuff that, again, just things that I've seen that happen to other people have made me realize, ooh, I haven't thought about this deeply enough, and I want to make sure you are thinking about it as well. So let's go to commercial. And when we come back, I'll talk a little bit more about some of the other stuff that you need to be thinking about.
What's going on, y'all? It's Kwame Speaks from Kwame Speaks Live, and you're watching Pyro Media Network.
Hey, it's Pastor Kim from It's Just Kim Live Show, and you're watching Pyro Media Network.
And we're back. We are back talking about aging, the unexpected, the what ifs, and how to make sure you are not left scrambling in shambles trying to figure out what's going on. I think for us as younger Gen X, older millennials, we're at that point where we're realizing we're getting older. And so we're worried about ourselves and how we plan to age in our in place, hopefully in our homes. And then we're also needing to think about maybe our relatives, people that we may have to take care of. And so I think this is a conversation that needs to happen. So how to plan for the what ifs. And this is sort of the healthcare side of this conversation. There's a financial side I might touch on a little bit, but I want to talk about that a little bit more in depth next week. So make sure you tune in next week as well. So medical decision making, this is really, really important. And again, this is from lived experience. Right now, I have a friend in the hospital in the intensive care unit. And what's happening is, for me, it's bringing up a lot of, whoa, again, didn't think about this, didn't think about that. Wait a minute. And so we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. I'm not going to share the story because that story is not mine to tell, but I'm going to talk to you about what has happened and how it's making me think differently about a lot of things. So the first thing is a healthcare proxy or a durable power of attorney. A healthcare proxy is a legal document that appoints someone to make medical decisions on your behalf if you are unable to do so yourself. That's the key word for me, if you are unable to do so for yourself. So for me, I've always said, well, I want to make sure things are okay if I cannot speak for myself. And I can honestly say, I don't think I conceptualize what not being able to speak for myself actually means until I have experienced, like I said, what this person that I know that is in the ICU who literally right now cannot speak for himself. And I'm like, this is like, I didn't know. I think I knew what that meant, but to literally see it in real time is something different, right? So this healthcare proxy is a person that acts as your voice when you can't speak for yourself, ensuring your wishes are honored in healthcare matters. Now, to me, where this comes into play when you're living alone, you know, you're a single person, maybe you don't have kids, maybe your relatives are far away. Your healthcare proxy needs to be someone that's local, that's close to you, that can make those kinds of decisions. So in the situation that I'm witnessing, it was like, well, wait, who decides if this happens or if this doesn't happen? Because this person can't speak for themselves. And I don't know, are you their healthcare proxy? And maybe that person isn't. So then there was this back and forth. Well, like, who do we call? So again, these things are important to have, because if it's you, you want someone to be able to speak on your behalf. And for me, in my case, I believe, because I have a healthcare proxy, I believe it's my brother. I need to check my documents to make sure, because I feel like my brother is very stable, very level-headed person. I picked him instead of my daughter, because I feel like Andrea would probably be very upset, right? It wouldn't be able to focus. And so I said, well, he would be more level-headed, like very, because he's like that right now, right? And so I said, well, he would probably be the best person to make those decisions. So that person can decide what kind of treatment you get, consent to procedures, access your medical records, and it only comes into effect when you are unable to make your own decisions. You cannot speak for yourself. It doesn't automatically activate. It needs to be activated by a doctor. The doctor needs to determine, okay, this person cannot speak for themselves. Now let's trigger this proxy, right? Certain laws governing healthcare proxies are different by state. So you got to understand what's happening in your particular state. You can specify instructions or limitations within the document, such as specific treatments you want or do not want, right? In my research, it's really important for LGBTQ plus individuals to have a healthcare proxy that may name a partner or close friend as the agent. Because otherwise the hospital may defer to the biological family member if that person does not have a healthcare proxy. And maybe that biological family member doesn't have that person's best interest at heart. And so then that person's wishes will not be honored. You understand the point of that? Now, the other thing is a healthcare proxy is not a living will. A living will is your end of life care, but a healthcare proxy is a little different, okay? There's other ones called like a physician orders for life-sustaining treatment. Similar is a document that outlines a seriously ill patient's preferences for medical treatment, such as a do not resuscitate. Maybe you don't want that, right? And you want that honored. You need to put that somewhere in writing so it's there and you have that sort of documentation. Like CPR, artificial nutrition and hydration. Do you want those kinds of things? If you do not, it's really important to have that in writing. Let's see, what else? I think those are the big ones. And I think one of the things I'll say for this specific section, you have to tell someone, hey, I have these things, or I have these documents. They're here, they're there. This is where you find them. Let the person you made somebody a healthcare proxy. I think you need to tell them that so that they know that, and maybe have a conversation about what you want and don't want so that they are not under any undue pressure or stress at the time of something happening. Because then, they're like, wait, what? So at least they are prepared. I think those are really, really important things to have happen because you don't know what could happen, and something can happen in a blink of an eye. And like I'm saying to you all, what I'm witnessing literally happened in a blink of an eye. The person I'm referring to was fine until they weren't. We had to have major surgery in the hospital, and then there was a complication, and now they're in intensive care and can't speak for themselves. That was not planned. That was not something that, oh, well, this is going to happen. It happened, and then there was a lot of like, wait, who do we call? What do we do? And we don't want that to happen. You want to be able to have that healthcare proxy. You want to be able to know who to call. And if you're a single adult, and like I said, you live far away from your relatives, your friends or people that care about you may not even know who your relatives are to call and figure out what you're doing. All of us have smartphones now, but baby, my smartphone has a lock on it. If you don't know what my lock is to get into my phone, you're not getting into my phone. So again, you got to talk to people to let them know what your wishes are. Give somebody that you trust, maybe one person, maybe two. Okay, this is how you get into my phone. My daughter can get into my phone if she had to, because she knows how to get into it. She can get into my laptop because she knows usually what my usual passwords are. So those types of things are really, really important, because when it's an emergency and someone's life and health is on the line, it can get very I can't even think of the word. It can cause a lot of anxiety, but it's really scary too, because it's like, well, I don't know quite what to do. Maybe I just happen to be the friend that either was aware of what's going on, but I don't have enough information. And that can be really, really stressful to see someone's health decisions being made by maybe the hospital or the state. I don't even know what happens if you don't have a legal guardian that can make those decisions, and it's out of your hands and you have no way to help that person. So think about getting these things in order now, because by the time something happens, and let's just be clear, I don't want nothing to happen to nobody, but life be life. And do you think I was thinking I was going to break my ankle? No. But it happened. And it's like, thank goodness I was able to get the help I needed. I was able to speak for myself the entire time. So that wasn't an issue, but I had to call somebody to help me. And thankfully that person was able to help me. But if there's a situation where you can't even speak for yourself, it's a whole nother category. So just want to make that clear to you. There's some financial things you need to think about. I won't go into detail because I want to talk more with my guest next week about the money, the trusts, the will, but think about these things. So you're in the hospital, going on 3 or 4 weeks, unable to speak for yourself. Who's paying your rent? Because you do need somewhere to stay. All your stuff is in your apartment. Or who's paying your mortgage? Again, you need to keep your place, right? Because you're going to come home at some point. Somebody has to make sure that the money gets to the mortgage company or the money gets to the landlord. Who's going to start your car? Who's going to pay your car payments? They have to have access to your bank. That person, you don't want to make that person responsible for your finances and paying for your stuff. You have a bank account, but if you don't have something set up, how do they get into your things to pay your bills, to keep the lights on? Those sorts of things are really important as well. Passwords, documents, where are those things stored? How do people figure out what to do on your behalf while you're not here, or not here as in you can't speak for yourself? So even those financial things that we take care of when we're, hey, everything's on auto pay. That's actually a good solution. Put a lot of stuff on auto pay. It doesn't have to be an issue. But if you don't have things on auto pay, how do you pay the rent for someone who can't speak for themselves? How do you get into their bank account? And I know you just can't go up to the bank and say, excuse me, I need to pay my friend's rent. They're going to be like, who are you? Right? So there's things that you have to think about financially that are also really, really, really important. And I think the last thing I'll touch on, the last two things I'll touch on, choosing who to trust. So a lot of this planning and thinking will require you to think about who in your life you can trust to carry out your wishes, who will take care of business, get things done for you, and maybe will act not so much out of emotion, be a little bit even, okay, logical. Let's think about this one thing at a time. And so you have to reflect. You have to think about the emotional weight of deciding who will speak for you or manage your affairs. So as I said to you earlier, if I had to decide, is it my daughter? Is it my brother? Is it my parents? For me, my daughter is old enough, she could do it. But I also have to realize that for her, it may actually be very upsetting for her. She may not be able to do it. So for me, I said, well, maybe my brother, he's a little more even, sensible person, probably be a bit more logical, and be able to take care of it in a way where he wouldn't be freaked out, right? Or worried. So I have to think about those things. But then I could also think about Andrea is also very savvy with the internet, online. Maybe there's parts of it that she could do, but the legal stuff, I think I would leave to my brother to take care of in support of Andrea, so that she feels okay and feels like she's not alone in whatever's happening. You want to think about, like I just said, reliability, shared values, and a good communicator. You don't want someone that's like, I don't think this is a good idea, but I want you to do that. And you're like, I don't want to do that. Well, then, baby, you about to sabotage. No. Hello. You got to have somebody that has the same values you do, who is reliable and who can communicate well. And then, you got to be honest. Like maybe some people ain't, child, you don't have me in shambles. Don't do it. Some people are not the people. And it's okay to just decide that's not the person. The most important thing I will say is you have to have the conversation. That's what I was talking to. Again, I was telling you, someone I know is currently in the hospital. I was talking to their friend, and I said the most important thing is you have to tell people what you want. Say it, speak it, write it, because we don't know that you don't want to be on a ventilator for an extended period of time. Why would I ever know that about anybody? I wouldn't know that. Or, no, I don't want to be given nutrition. I don't want to, them to put it through the tube to feed me. I don't want that. How would I know that unless we have that conversation? That doesn't just come up in regular conversation with friends, right? So you have to tell people and let them know what you want, what you don't want. And it can feel funny because it's like, you don't want to think about that. You don't want to think that that would ever happen to you, but it could. And you don't want to be left sort of in the hanging, right, in the balance, and letting someone else that has no knowledge of who you are making decisions about your life when you can't speak for yourself. So make sure you figure out who to trust. Maybe sit down with yourself, get a little book, a little journal, and okay, who amongst the people that I know will do what I know I would want done for me, right? And make some notes and then have a conversation. Take them to lunch, take them for coffee and say, listen, I know this sounds crazy, but I've been thinking a lot about my age because I'm seasoned like lemon pepper. And I need to talk to you about something. Is it okay? Let's have a conversation and see where it goes. Because I really think it's important to really have those kinds of conversations, especially what I went through and what I have witnessed. It's really important. Sometimes I think, especially for Black folk, we don't want to talk about those kinds of things. We don't want to talk about death. We don't want to talk about sickness because we think that it's going to bring those things on. Don't bring that on me. Don't put that on me. No, you have to have those conversations because you have to be prepared. Even look, use this podcast episode as a talking point. Hey, I was watching Nicole D Vick live and she was talking about her ankle breaking and she had to figure out how to navigate, and thankfully she had help. But it made me realize if I fell down in my house tomorrow, I wouldn't know who to call to help me. And you know what? I think you would be that person. Would you be willing to be my contact person and help me figure out this thing if something happens to me? And then you go about your plan. I think that would be a good way to start that conversation. So again, just wanted to bring this forward because I don't think we talk about it enough. Yes, we are living our lives and trying to get through the day, but one incident like that can set folks back and it just be in shambles. And we don't want that. We want folks to be prepared for either an unexpected emergency where, oops, a fall, and now I don't know, I can't get around my own dang on house, or something a little bit more serious where you are somewhere and you cannot speak for yourself and you need someone to advocate for you as you're in that space until you recover, right? So two very different situations, but to me, both very, very important and worthy of planning and figuring it out. Think about it. You are worth that. You are worth figuring out what to do in the situation where either you have an accident and you need the help, or you are in an emergency situation where you cannot speak for yourself. You're worth that plan. People want you here. They want you to be in their lives. And so they want you to be okay. And part of that is planning. Okay. So for me, I'll share what I've done for myself. And then we'll talk about, wrapping this conversation up a little bit. So I think I already shared a little bit, but I'll reiterate it. First thing I did, well, not the first thing. One of the first things I did was think about, okay, how am I gonna get out the house? So rails on your stairs. I didn't have rails on my front stairs. I bought my house in 2011. I just put them on last year. So this whole time I'm just like, yeah, assuming that I would be able-bodied all this time until I wasn't. And then I'm like, crap. So I had to go buy rails to put on the stairs. If you don't have rails on your front stairs, go get rails. They're cheap on Amazon, Home Depot. You can get them and get them installed immediately. Okay. One of the other things that I did was put that, I don't know what you call it. I guess it's called a smart lock on your front door. where you can put codes in and give them to people. I can open and close my door on my phone. I can send codes to people to get into my house. Let me tell y'all a quick story. I was supposed to go to a doctor's appointment, and my friend was like, "Yeah, I'll take you." And so she texted me and was like, "I'm on my way." She was like, "I didn't hear back." And I was like, "Where's Nicole?" I got to the house. I'm like, "I'm here." She said, "You didn't answer." And I was like, "What is going on?" I go to the door. I knock on the door. You didn't answer the door. I'm looking in the window. I don't see nothing but Mew Mew in the window looking at me. She said, "Oh boy." So I went back into my car, found the code to get into your house, pushed the code, opened the door. I heard somebody call me, "Nicole." I'm in there knocked out sleep. I didn't hear my alarm or nothing. So if she hadn't had that code to get in, she would have had to call the police, right? I guess they would have broke my door and I would have had to get the door replaced. But in this case, it was really simple. She was like, "Oh crap, what's the code to the door?" Walked in the door, "Nicole," and I'm in the back with a bonnet on. So again, a smart lock is really helpful for a number of reasons. You can give a whole bunch of people separate codes. I can even say this code is valid from 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Like get in, get out, and then it will become invalid. I can give them a code that they can keep forever. And so that was really, really helpful because when I first broke my ankle, listen, everybody talking about come open the door. Listen, I'm in these crutches. I don't like these things. They're scary. And you want me to get up and do what? No. And so I'm going to tell y'all something. And I do not recommend it. I used to put my key to my front door in the mailbox. And so when I knew someone was coming, or actually I didn't even do that, I just left it there. People would just come in with the key. Now, what if somebody had witnessed me doing that and was, had bad intentions? Not safe. So get a smart lock where you can use a code to get in the door and people can come in that you trust and they can lock the door, unlock the door, and it's fine. And you can even open and close it yourself off your phone. Okay. What else? I was lucky. My wheelchair, my house, the door openings are wide enough already. I didn't have to worry about that. I don't have a lot of rugs in my house. And if I do, they're under heavy furniture. That kind of stuff, very important. I don't play with rugs no more. Like, no, because I almost slid on one. We ain't got time. So walk through your house. Think about those kinds of things. Okay. Also promise me you will have a conversation with someone that you trust about a healthcare proxy, and some of those other things that I talked to you guys about today. Super, super important. Begin to have those conversations. Think about how to get those documents together. I'll talk to a guy from that I know next week who's going to come on. He's going to talk to you. He helped me put together my trust, which included also, so the trust is in there, and I think I have my healthcare proxy in there. He helped me put those together. So we're going to talk to him next week about that. And just in closing around this topic, listen, being prepared in these types of situations is an act of self-love. You talk about self-care, that's self-care, right? When it matters the most. And it's about collective care. It's about community. So really see this as a good thing. Don't see it as a bad thing. You want to be ready and prepared and make sure your family and the people you care about are prepared. Okay? So promise me you will look around your house, look for trip hazards, fix them. In the shower, if you can, put them little bars. You can even buy the kind off, again, Amazon. I have one on my tub. It's like a handle, and you kind of screw it to the tub so it's stable, but it helps you to get in and out. Stuff like that, really important, okay? But make sure you do at least one thing to prepare for your seasoned life, and for the unexpected. Be ready. All right, y'all, I'm going to end it tonight here. See me next week. We're going to talk about the financial part, the living will part, the trust part in a little bit more detail. And I'm excited about that because I'm having an expert come on to talk. And in the meantime, you know where to find me on the website, on the www World Wide Web. www.NicoleDvick.com is my website. I might actually I created a little checklist to prepare. I think I'll end up putting it on the website. Maybe in the next couple of weeks, I'll get it done. But on the website, you can find this podcast. You can find my books. Ooh, I have 3. Push through, finding the light in every lesson. Pushing through 52 weeks of light in tough times. Is that right? Child, I forgot to tell them about dang on books. And the last one is Triumph in the Trenches. I just found out there's actually 3 volumes of Triumph in the Trenches, and I'm in the first volume. So that's on my website as well. I'm on social media. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm getting ready to pick my LinkedIn up a little bit more. Finally getting myself together and recognizing what I need to be talking about. And so you'll see more of me on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram as well, more lifestyle on Instagram. TikTok, one day we might pick TikTok back up, but TikTok right now, I done let it, it's over there sleep, but it's there. But I'll see you all next week. Thank you all for listening. Like I said, don't be scared about getting seasoned. I feel like I'm having the best time of my life, but I also need to be prepared. Okay. Don't be no fool now. Get yourself ready. All right. I'll see y'all next week. Bye.
Thank you for watching Pyro Media Network. For more information, please visit pyromedianetwork.com.